Hey guys, welcome back. So let's make some clothes for him. Let's start with the shirt. Now, there's a couple ways to make clothes. We can make it in Maya, just using modeling tools, or we can use Marvel Designer. First, I'm going to kind of show you a really quick way to do it in Maya. And in our previous videos, we made this layer so we can see our image on top of our model. So it's just sitting in front. So the first thing you want to do is select the body and make it live. You click this button, this magnet, and what that means is that if we use our QuadDraw tool inside the modeling toolkit, it will stick to the surface. We can turn on symmetry. So if we go to symmetry right here and click world X, and you can tell we need X because if you look on the bottom left here, the X is pointing sideways. So that's our symmetry. So what we can do here is kind of outline what we're going to make. So the way I like to do it is I like to outline in the 3D space where the like all the loops are going to go, like for the sleeves and for the bottom here. So if I just start making a couple loops this way, just to kind of outline that, and then also make some here. And if you go to the center, you can see they'll snap. Now the neck is going to go, it's under the scarf. We don't have an image for what that looks like, but I imagine it probably looks something like this. There. So in 3D space, we can see what that is. And the way I like to do it, again, is I like to just make these loops that go around. And you can move them using the middle mouse button. And what you do is you left click and then hold shift to make a connection between that. So you make a face. So you need 4 vertices, and then you can hold shift and that will make the connection. Let's look from the front, make sure this looks like what we want it to look like. Make slight adjustments here. Now we can start figuring out how to connect all of it. And the way I do it is I look to see what is easily connectable. So I can easily connect here. Just hold shift, click, same here. Down here, we can make 2 points this way and then connect like that. Here, I don't want to make this connection. It's going to be too stretched. So I'm going to go down here below like that. And then we can do this. So here's the same thing. This is where we have to make a decision. Do we have enough divisions to kind of make the geometry one? Because if I just try and do this, then these faces are a little long, right? So do I bring everything up, or do I need to do something else? And I think if I move these around a little bit like that, I should be able to get the topology that I want. So something like this. You want to basically kind of have as even distribution of faces as you can. By the way, you can also move things with the middle mouse button. So you just use the middle mouse button to move things around like this. So if we click, let's see here. So if you want to move a point, just middle mouse button and it'll let you move it like that. Okay. So now I want to connect this to the bottom here, but it's going to be hard sometimes because just because I have this number of faces here, it doesn't mean that this matches from the bottom. So what I can do is I can kind of make connections that make sense initially. So something like this. We don't have to make all the faces in between. We just need to make the connections and then we can go from there. So I can connect. See, I can't make that connection. So I'm going to put a point here like this. And then if I middle drag it, it will snap. So if I move this down, that will snap and I can connect that there. So we have too many. See, so if I delete one edge, if you hold Control Shift, you can delete an edge. So that means I can just make my connection like this and then move things around to fill in that space that we made by deleting that edge. Like this. Now in the middle here, what we can do is just hold Control and that will drop loops for us. And those loops will then stick to the surface. And if I drop one in the middle, what's going to happen is I'm going to have this long face here. So I don't want to do that. I want to go up and split into 3 because I want to try and keep the faces relatively evenly spaced, something like that. When you're done, if you hold Shift, you can smooth out the connections here or the spacing just by holding shift. There. All right, so that's basically done. But the thing is, it's too low res, right? It's so low res that it's not even going to the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate for now. I'm going to turn the magnet off, turn live off, and then subdivide it once, like this, using polysmooth. I'm going to clear history, Shift Alt D, and then if I bring this back, when you smooth it, it actually shrinks a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the transform. It's under mesh here. Yeah, transform. And if you open the options for it, make sure random is set to 0 and hit apply. That will let us just like pull it out to the surface. And you want to pull it just until it goes through the surface a little bit, like that. The next step is to select the body and make it live again. Now we can select the shirt and click QuadDraw. Once you do that, it turns the geo back into QuadDraw. Now if I hold B and drag, this will give us a soft select. And all you have to do at this point is if you left click just once, every point that's selected, that's highlighted, will snap back to the surface. So you can see, let's see if we can see something that makes, yeah, right here. See how the back here is not connected? If I click it, oops, it snaps to the surface. So all we need to do is just kind of click it. Now, if you hold shift, sometimes it's easier. So if you hold shift and left click, it will smooth. And as it smooths, it will also stick to the surface. The reason this is kind of getting like this is because the surface is uneven, so it's trying to get into all the nooks and crannies. So I just kind of go through like this, holding shift and click to make sure I click all the vertices. Now, the way the selection works, it doesn't do the edges, it only does the inside. So if you then click on the edge will now stick as well. So I just go through and kind of do this. We'll fix that after. Same over here. And then the collar. Okay. If you make the soft select smaller, you can hold shift and click and drag, and you can see it's going to start smoothing out. So anything that looks a little weird, we're going to fix that way. Turn soft select off by pressing B once, and then we can move these around this. So with tight-fitting clothing, this works really well. So now if we just click W to exit this QuadDraw tool, turn off live, this is now just geo. And again, we can do the same thing we did before. Click transform, make sure random is set to 0, and then we can just pull it out a little bit so it sits on the surface like that, instead of being inside. And we can add some of the like wrinkles. Now there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest is to just sculpt them. So if we look at the reference here, there's a couple wrinkles like on the sides and stuff. So we can add those by using the sculpting tools. We don't have enough geometry here, right? So what we're gonna have to do is we'll need to subdivide. Now you wanna make sure you clear history, and then you can go to poly modeling and click the smooth button, and you can actually add more subdivisions than you need, like 2 subdivisions. And don't clear history, leave the subdivisions on. Now we can use the sculpting tools, and we can use just this sculpting brush, make it smaller. And by the way, if you're using the sculpting tools, sometimes when they come in, the brushes look like too big and you can't even see the brush size. Just double click the tool and then take the size, set it to 0, and the strength, set it to 0. Then you can hold B to increase the brush. So there it is. And then M for the strength. So hold M, left click and drag for strength. If you have a tablet, it's going to be much easier. But even if you don't have a tablet, just set the strength really low, and then you can just kind of build up as you go. Like that, see? So first, you kind of just paint it on, and then make your brush a little bigger, hold shift. So this is the smooth brush right here. If you double click it, it has the same options. So there's a strength. That strength is going to be set to 100 when you first use it. So if I hold shift, it will do a lot. So I want it to do not too much. I want it to do a little bit. So if I hold shift, it's going to smooth it just a little bit. And then we can just like feather the edges of what we did. But for simple clothing, this is a very easy way to make some clothes. Now, when you're done, what you can do now is go back to your under inputs, your poly smooth, and from 2, set it to 1. This will give you a subdivision of 1 instead of the 2 that we had. So it's less geometry, and it looks fine. Like, it's not crazy. We can clear history, and I think that looks pretty good. So at this point, we can add some detail to this. Like, one thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this is, it has some thickness. So if I select this edge here, like this, and then this edge, and this edge, I'm going to go in and extrude. So go to poly, extrude. Where is it? It's right here. I want to extrude. So it goes in. It doesn't have to go all the way through the skin, just a little bit of thickness. And I'm going to add a single division. So we have a division there. I'm going to then use the insert edge loop tool, set it to equidistant, turned off, complete with edge flow, and go around and add edge loops on where we extruded that. That way you get a nice sharp edge. So if we press 3, you can see now we have thickness on the shirt. Oh, we can do it here. Forgot to select this. Division, like that. There we go. So now it has some thickness. If you want to make it even nicer, you can select this edge that we use in the middle that we created, and this one, and this one, and then the other side. And then we can use transform to pull it out like that in the blue arrow. That's too much, a little bit less. That will just kind of round off the edges and give us this look. So there are some stitches, it looks like right there. And see, same here around the collar and the armpits. So we can actually select those like this. We're not going to see this because of the edge here, because of the scarf, but we can add it as well, just so it's there. And select this edge. And then I'm going to bevel it. So shift, right click, click bevel. And that will give us a bevel, and we can click to add some divisions here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the fraction here, and I added 4 divisions. Because now if I select the inside edge, right there, so the center edge between all of those, I can then click transform and then push it in like that. And now we just added this little loop here. Now I'm going to turn on symmetry. So if you select the center line, hold Control Shift right click on symmetry, and then click on topology. This will turn symmetry on, and I can then select just these vertices here. You select that, and then move them. Just line on the camera this way, and move them back. Let's see. Make sure it's all good. Yeah. And then we'll just kind of round off that corner there. Same thing on this side. Deselect the back, and then just move that over, just round that off. There we go. Let's UV it real quick. So click UV editor, and we're just going to do a projection, planar projection from the front. So it's the Z axis, which is the front, and hit apply. It's going to do this. And then we'll pick the seams. So we still have symmetry on, so if I select one side, it'll do the other. And then we need one on the top here. And basically it's the way a shirt, if you buy a shirt where it's going to be cut, it'll be the same place. So you can look at your own clothes, how to UV clothes. We'll do that. So once we selected those edges, we can hold shift, right click, and then click cut. We can move this over. Select this one, and then click So right click to click UV, that way you can select them, then shift right click, unfold, unfold. That should give us pretty okay result. We can snap it to the grid here and then use the grid as our guide for rotation to make it vertical. So just line that out like this, and then same with this one. And just line up the vertical line. If you hold D and V, we can middle drag and snap the pivot there and then snap it to the grid. That way it's easier to line it up. There we go. So line this up together like this, and then snap it to a tile. And right now I'm going to snap it above so that it doesn't overlap the body, but it'll just live up there. Now, if you want to go even further, right? So if I were to make this part have a different color, it would be kind of hard to paint along this edge. So it's actually easier if we just separate them. So if I go in and select these interior edge loops, right? The ones that go in, go back into UV layout. I can do a cut and then select, double click the inside UVs, then shift select these guys and move them over. Now what I want to do is I want to lay them out so that they're perfectly in a straight line. And sometimes that's hard to do, but there is a tool for this. So first what we need to do is we need to make sure all of these are cut. So all these faces need to be cut. So I'm going to go like this. Select all of the edges on the selection, shift right click and cut. And then I'm going to select these faces. And then there's a command under modify called unitize. When I do that, all of the faces that we just separated are laid out like this. They're all on top of each other. So if you look at the preview, see what it looks like. Now what we can do is we can select all of these edges like this, and then deselect them from our selection here. The reason you want to do that is because the next step is going to be to sew them together. And if I sew them back to this shape, we don't want to do that. Next, what I want to do is I want to also pick a seam. So I'm going to pick the same seam that I have here. So I'm holding Control, double clicking, same here, and then that's cut, and then we'll do it here as well. If we open the UV editor, you'll be able to see where the seam is right here. Same on the outside. So now what we have is all the interior edges are selected except the seams. So now if we go back into the UV layout, we're going to hold Shift, right click, and do a stitch together. And it's working. Sometimes it takes a little while, and you can see on the bottom here it's working. Just let it finish. Okay, so it's done. And if we take a look, this is what it looks like. You can make a selection just like this. Hold Control, right click, and then click to a UV shell, and then layout UV. And there it is. So those are all of the things that we just unwrapped. The problem is they look like all squares. And if we look at the geo, that's not what that looks like. So what we can do now is select all of these, hold Shift, right click, unfold, and unfold along U. It will do this. Now the problem doing it this way is that it will make them curvy like this, which I don't want. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I only select the outside edges, and the easiest way to do that is to deselect everything inside like this. Now hold Shift and drag a selection over it. Now we're selecting only the inside, and if we hold Shift, right click, unfold, and unfold U, it's going to evenly try and distribute them like this. And then if we go to, I think it's a line, open all of these up and then scroll down, there's a straighten UVs we can click, and it will try and straighten them all out, but gives us a better even distribution. Like some of them will get a little messed up, but only this one got messed up. And that's only because I didn't select it. So I'm going to align it using this button. And then we can take these and then scale them together. And if we turn on our checker pattern, we can take a look and see this. And this is spaced out. And you can see if we just keep scaling them this way, we'll turn these into squares. And this is a way we can basically lay this out so that it's evenly spaced out like that. And we can take this and then rotate it 90 degrees this way and then place it underneath the clothes like that. Take the shirt and move it up. So when we texture, it's going to be really easy for us to apply a nice fabric pattern on this that will wrap around the stitching, right? The way the shirt is built. So if we look at this again now, this is what it looks like. You see how this is wrapping around. All right, so that's done. The shirt is basically done. The next step is to make the pants, but the pants are going to be a little hard to do in Maya, and I'm going to show you how to make clothes in Marvelous Designer. So in the next video, we're going to make the same shirt in Marvelous Designer with the pants. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave comments. Engagement helps with the video visibility, and I'll see you guys next time.